Marvel Spider-Man 2 is dropping very, very soon, and I wanted to talk a little bit about games that have handled the symbiote suit in the past, that I think this game could pull from, what I think it should have pulled from, and what I think is actually going to happen. We're going to look at a few different games today. We're going to look at Spider-Man 3, which is the movie tie-in. We're going to look at those versions that are on PlayStation 2 and on Xbox 360, because those are technically the same game, but they are very different versions. I've played both of them, so those are the ones I'm most familiar with. We're going to look at Spider-Man Web of Shadows, and we're probably going to look a little bit at Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions as well, although it will be brief. What we're really going to focus on is the elements between those first three games: Spider-Man 3 on PlayStation 2, Spider-Man 3 on Xbox 360, and Spider-Man Web of Shadows on 360, PS3, maybe even Wii. I'm not actually sure if it came out on that system. First thing I want to point out here is that Spider-Man 3 for the Xbox 360 and Spider-Man 3 for the PlayStation 2 are not the same game. They are very, very different. They are the same in the sense that they are both movie tie-ins, but the way that they handle very key things like story elements and characters and even gameplay when it comes to the black suit are very, very different from one another, and that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the difference in the black suit gameplay for each of these games. First, I want to look at the Xbox 360 version, which is what I think is going to happen with Marvel Spider-Man 2. In the way that the black suit is handled in Spider-Man 3 for Xbox 360, the story progresses naturally, you get through story missions, and eventually you unlock the black suit, and then you are stuck in the black suit until you get to the point in the story where you lose it. You do not really have a choice in that matter, you are stuck with the black suit until the story deems otherwise. Now, the way that this is expressed in gameplay is that Peter becomes more and more violent. Within story things, he almost kills Kingpin. And as the game progresses, as you play more and more story things, you fill up your rage meter, which is the power meter to do like really sick moves. That becomes filled way, way, way more quickly as the game progresses, showing that Peter is falling a little bit deeper and deeper into the influence of the black suit. Story-wise, it makes sense for Peter not to be able to lose the suit, right? Because if you look at the source material in Spider-Man 3, he doesn't really put his old suit back on, he sticks with it. But if you want to look things from a gameplay perspective, it is kind of limiting that you can only use the black suit during those sequences. Although it does fit within the story, it is handled differently in the PlayStation 2 version, which is what we're going to look at now. See, in the PlayStation 2 version, once you get the black suit, you have the option to swap between using the black suit and not using the black suit. And the way that this is expressed in gameplay is there's just a button that you press, and then you have to do a little mash sequence to take off the black suit. As the story progresses and you get deeper and deeper into the game, that process becomes more and more difficult, which is how they express the struggle of being under the black suit's influence in that game differently. It gets harder and harder, and there's much more mashing, and the process itself is actually much more violent for Peter. You can feel, just from like the pure amount of mashing, how difficult it is to be able to swap between the black suit to the red suit. Switching from red to black is no problem. That is a very easy transition. There's no struggle with that at all. It's when you go back, it's when you put the black suit away, that the gameplay decides to really make you feel the difference. Like I said before, I think that we're going to get the Xbox 360 version of this where you get the black suit and you are stuck with it until the story deems otherwise. I don't know how this game is going to handle the black suit, and I am excited to see where it goes. But I think it's safe to say that once you get the black suit, you are going to be stuck with it. The way they handle returning to the black suit in these old games is something I want to look at as well. In the Xbox 360 version of Spider-Man 3, once you beat the game, you unlock a version of the game where you have the black suit the entire way through, which is pretty fun. I would be interested to see a version of it where you don't have the black suit the whole way through, you just have the red suit, because you are stronger, like you do a lot more damage with the black suit, so maybe like a weaker version of that would have been cool as well, but I'm not going to talk too much about that. It is fun to be able to play through the entire game with the black suit as kind of a reward for beating the game the first time. Now, on the PlayStation 2 version, it's a little bit different. You have to 100% the game, and then you unlock the black suit permanently. I've never done this, but I know that when you beat it 100%, there's a dark reward. That's how they phrase it in the game. So I have to assume that you unlock the black suit, and then I think the assumption from there is that you will be able to swap freely between them. Maybe just the first level of button mashing, maybe not. Maybe it's actually a little bit more seamless. It would be interesting to see if there is a way in Marvel Spider-Man 2 to swap between the two, if that process becomes difficult as it progresses, or if it's just you have the black suit, this is who Peter is now, there's no going back from this. This is just how you are. And the reason I think it's going to be interesting to see that is because we know that there are symbiote attacks. We know that there are those 4 legs sticking out of Peter's back attacks. We know that Peter Spider-Man is going to have those different versions, whereas Miles is probably just going to have Venom strikes and Venom abilities throughout the entire game, which is fine. That, like, Miles' gameplay is fantastic. It's interesting to see what they're going to do with Peter because Peter's the one getting the black suit. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions is interesting because you have no option when it comes to Ultimate Spider-Man. He's stuck with the black suit no matter what you do. Obviously, that's not going to be the case, where we see Peter use the red suit for a little bit in trailers and cutscenes and initial trailers and things like that. I'm not really looking at Shattered Dimensions for anything other than the fact that it's a game that features a black suit and its abilities. You use that through the entire game whenever you're using Ultimate Spider-Man. There's not really a difference. The other game I do want to look at, though, much more closely is Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Now, if you ask me, Spider-Man Web of Shadows is probably the best Spider-Man game to exist. To me, Spider-Man Web of Shadows is probably the most fun I've had in a Spider-Man game in terms of pure gameplay. I understand that Marvel Spider-Man has more in your arsenal, and there are more things that you can do. That being said, there's just so much more you can do with the black suit and the three different fighting styles. There are three different fighting styles in Web of Shadows. There's fighting on the ground, there's fighting in the air, and there's fighting on walls. They play very differently from one another. There are different combos for each, and they're all fun in their own right. It makes combat feel very, very fluid. Take those three things and double them, because there's a red suit version, like a hero version, of those three combat techniques, and then there is a black suit version, which is obviously much more violent, much more dangerous, and uses the symbiote much, much more. Again, throughout the entire game, you have access to the black suit. The other unique thing about Web of Shadows is that in the middle of a fight, in between button presses, you can swap between the red suit and the black suit. You are not beholden to one or the other necessarily. There are some decisions that you make that will force you to play through certain sections with one suit or the other, which is fine. You made that choice. If you're unfamiliar with Spider-Man Web of Shadows, it's a game very heavily based on your choices. Throughout the game, there are key moments that the game will give you an option. It will give you the red suit choice or the black suit choice, the red suit or the symbiote choice. Symbiote suit is obviously the negative choice, depending on how you look at it, right? You will either encourage fights. There's one where you rip Wolverine in half, which is probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in a video game. And then the red suit is the hero choice. It's the, turn down the bad guy, turn down teaming up with Black Cat, stop people from fighting, it's the more hero path. And those choices actually influence the end of the game as well. I don't think we're going to get multiple endings in Marvel Spider-Man 2. It would be interesting to see if they wanted to go that way, how they would go about it. But realistically, I don't see it happening. So between these three things, I think that they're going to go with Spider-Man 3 on 360, where you're just going to be stuck with the black suit until the story deems otherwise. But they really should have looked at Spider-Man Web of Shadows for this. It would be really, really cool to be able to swap between good guy Peter and bad guy Peter, like in the middle of a fight. Web of Shadows does such a good job of having that transition be seamless that it really begs the question of, is that something that should come back, or is it something they looked at and ignored because they wanted you to feel Peter dive deeper into the black suit and its effects, right? The flip side of Web of Shadows is, as you level up either the red suit or the black suit, you see more violence come out of the black suit, and you get stronger both ways, but the red suit progresses much more naturally, whereas the black suit progresses much more violently. You use the symbiote more. There's more symbiote effects, there's more tendrils, there's a lot more. It's much clearer that Peter is losing himself in the black suit. You can feel that during gameplay. Story-wise, you can influence all your decisions. You can use the black suit for every second of the game where it's available, but still choose the red suit in every situation. So, for pure gameplay-wise versus story-wise, there's a difference. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a difference in Marvel Spider-Man 2, which is fine, because Spider-Man 3 for Xbox 360 is also a really, really fun game. Just based on trailers, we can see that Peter is getting angrier and angrier, and he's being more and more careless. And he stops caring about civilians, and he's getting more and more darker and evil as he falls deeper and deeper into the suit. Between these three games that have featured the black suit, it seems like they're going to pull the most from Spider-Man 3 for Xbox 360, which is fine. That's a fun game. The PlayStation 2 version is fun in its own right. You even get to fight Morbius, which is fantastic. Morbius is not a boss in the 360 version. But it does give you more flexibility in how you play the game. Because even if you decide to use the red suit for most of the PlayStation 2 version, you will still feel the influence of the black suit through story. It seems like story and gameplay are much more integrated in Marvel Spider-Man 2, which is fine. We've seen Marvel Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Those games are fantastic. There's no question that this game is going to be better than both of those. I'm confident that the writing is going to be better. The gameplay is going to be improved from both of those games. I'm very, very excited to see where this game goes. but it would be cool to see them pull from these older games, in the sense that, like, just having the option of not using the black suit for every single thing and when you're playing as Peter would be pretty cool. All that being said, I'm sure that Marvel Spider-Man 2 is going to be fantastic. I'm just so excited to get my hands on the game that I had to think about things that it could be similar to, remember some great games that I've played in the past, and just get more and more excited for this game. I am so pumped. I'm probably going to play it over on my Twitch. I might even play it on YouTube. Let's talk about it. Let's play it together. Oh, God, I'm so excited for this game. But in any case, hopefully, I will see you soon. Take care, be good, and enjoy Marvel Spider-Man 2 when it drops.